So yeah, CMT is McLuhan plus Marx. Marx through McLuhan, McLuhan through Marx. McLuhan side, media. Marx side, capital. This is overly simplistic. In a perfect world, I would have a lot more faces and everything here. But this, I think that these are the two general tendencies. Even someone like Heidegger or someone like Arendt, they are responding to the same sort of situation, and they're trying to make a break from Marx. And they all succeed in their own ways, right? Because Marx was not right about everything, it turns out. But I want to oversimplify with this binary between capital versus media, because I kind of want you to just keep in mind that there is a critique of capital that goes way beyond, oh, the profit motive corrupts everything. Oh, the profit motive and the free market are the reason why technology is bad, right? That is a genuine approach. It has some insight. I think his name's Andrew Freeman. I hope I'm getting that right. He studied under Marcuse, and then Feinberg. Sorry, I think it's Andrew Feinberg. Anyway, he basically spent the last his whole career in academia. I think he's still alive today. Arguing with like the pessimistic view of technology and arguing, yeah, it's bad, but you know what? If we have democratic control over technology, then everything will be okay. And there's something to the idea of democratic control of technology, but I do think it's a political point of emphasis that misses really tarrying with the positive and negative effects and tendencies of both capital and media, which is something that most of the philosophers of technology in the field today have not done. There's this big tendency following in the wake of someone like Don Ide to just look at the different kinds of technologies that there are and classify them. It's not looking for their actual effects on us as humans, what it actually means to be human. And so I don't take this approach of standard philosophy of technology. I think that we can bypass both the political and standard philosophy of technology approaches and go to the heart of something by focusing on capital and media. But I mainly want to set this up in your minds for the rest of this course as a division that you can just kind of keep there. Capital is a placeholder. We're not gonna really get into Marx's critique of capital in this course. We're going to be mostly focusing on media. But I want you to all know I'm not the kind of theorist who's making a decision that it's one or the other, right? And I actually think that that holding the two things together is what puts the critical into media theory. Critical theory without McLuhan is just critical theory. Media theory without Marx is just media theory. When you get to combine the two of them, you have something powerful, and it's emerging, and we're pioneering it, and it's called critical media theory. But critical in the sense that Marx is using it, in the sense that Hegel was using it, in the sense that Kant was using it, which is to say the German sense of the word critical, critique. I think it has a K at the end of it, critique. This word does not just mean criticizing. It does not just mean critically understanding or analyzing. It means, and I've heard this in a lot of different ways, but it basically means, if you really distill it down, critical means a systematic attempt to understand the conditions of possibility of the discursive deadlock operative in the field at the time. I'll put that one more way, because that's a somewhat confounded way to say it. But in any field of knowledge or consciousness, there's deadlocks, debates. Let's just think about politics today, the culture war, the debates in the culture field. A critical approach tries to understand the conditions of possibility that structure the shape that the debate has taken. And not just the debate at the level of words, but also of the dispersal of power, right? What are the conditions of societal and cultural reproduction of the existing situation? Take Althusser as an example. Louis Althusser says, the condition of possibility for the reproduction of capitalist economy in this era is the twofold operation of repressive state apparatuses and ideological state apparatuses. Repressive being the police, the border guards, the military, the prison guards, etc. The ideological state apparatuses being the schooling system, the K through 12, the primary to college, university, but also media, journalism. And nowadays we know that journalists get their fucking memos from the State Department. We know that, you know, anything that you say that on Twitter that runs counter to what the FBI, CIA, NSA wants out there can just be removed. You can get blacklisted. Like, we know that these things are happening in some kind of like a vague way. But yeah, this is the situation within which we find ourselves, right? And so what are the conditions of possibility of smartphone addiction and perpetual culture war, wherein there's no actual future on the horizon that we could plausibly move into without a civil war that would itself be a dead end, right? Because any big war fought right now between Russia and the United States, between conservatives and liberals in the United States, these kinds of wars, even if you killed everybody on the other side and then everything got settled, there would be no new horizon opened up because people have a misdiagnosis of the problems, and their scapegoating of the other side, though the other side is usually deplorable in its various ways, tends to miss the deeper issue that is actually mirrored in both sides. So eventually we'll get into the whole thing about duopoly and everything later on in the course. But for right now, it's just to say that instead of critique, meaning you take up a standpoint within the field and you critique the other side, critique in this tradition of like German critique that Marx is coming from means to systematically try to understand the conditions of possibility for structuring the field and its deadlocks. Only by doing so dialectically, by doing so immanently, by doing so from inside in an understanding way, sympathetically even, only through doing all of this, they think, will we actually come to a higher understanding that paves the way into some new possibilities. Hopefully more plausible than not. Hopefully not just some airy-fairy wish fulfillment, but actually something concrete and deliverable that would actually improve the lives of everyone involved. So that's the critique side. That's the capital side. That's where Marx is coming from. Media theory does, I would say that it still thinks about the conditions of possibility. I would say that it does so critically, whatever. But McLuhan doesn't think about power in any sort of a systematic way. He definitely doesn't think about class. He doesn't concern himself with the negative, except to kind of put caution signs on things and say, well, if we don't understand what we're doing, if we don't understand what we're in, then we're all fucked. But I wrote the book on understanding this stuff, so as long as people read it, things will be okay, right? It's a more mental approach. It doesn't actually require organizing, like Marx assumes we actually have to change the world. McLuhan thinks understanding the world will be sufficient because we're always changing the world. But at least if we understand what we're doing, then changing the world, it'll be positive. Okay?